gotta call Mary at noon, see what Jimmy's teacher thinks. No real trouble, I hope. Oh, how am I doing? Okay.
Good morning, Richardson.
Good morning, sir.
During the past 3 weeks. The time is 7 o'clock.
Good. Right on
New
time.
outbreak of terrorism has Western officials searching for clues to the identity of the groups that are responsible for acts that have left 10 people dead and scores injured. Complete details in 30 minutes. Now back to music.
This driver and his passenger have driven into a trap. In real life, they'd be dead. What if the driver had been aware of the changing level of danger on this trip? What if he knew the driving techniques to escape? Evasive driving begins with a careful pre-survey of the routes that may be taken. Every route involves a series of locations that present particular opportunities for a terrorist ambush. Some places are obviously more likely than others. A place like this bridge not only offers places where attackers can conceal themselves, but also narrows the evasive options of the driver. Clearly, it's a place to be approached with great caution, or in some circumstances, avoided altogether. When you travel from home to work, you can choose from more than one possible route. But each route usually requires you to pass through some zones of heightened danger along the way. These places that you must pass that offer some sort of cover for an attacker and limited opportunity for escape for you, we call choke points. Bridges are common choke points. Streams and railroads are obstacles that only some streets cross. To get to the other side, you have to use one of a limited number of crossings. You know that, and so does your adversary. A choke point may have an escape available somewhere before you reach it. But beware if attackers give you an escape route. They could be intentionally diverting you to a spot where you may be even more vulnerable. A careful route survey will reveal what choices you have and which ones may be preferable. Under Army regulations, official transportation cannot be utilized to transport individuals from home to their normal duty station. Exceptions are granted by the Secretary of the Army for individuals who are considered to be probable targets of terrorist attack. Whether it is an official driver in an official car or the officer driving a personal car, it's the responsibility of that driver to look for potentially dangerous spots along the possible routes. Even though the overwhelming majority of trips are likely to be uneventful anyway, the route survey will pay off in peace of mind. It will allow the driver to regulate intelligently the level of alertness required in different circumstances. Deep woods offer a place to hide for a long time without attracting attention. A park with benches or any public gathering place provides a potential attacker with a place to wait patiently in plain sight without attracting attention. Most ambushes occur near the start of routine trips, at choke points along frequently used routes, or near the end of the trips. Why the beginning and the end of the route? Because those segments, close to either home or the place of work, offer the greatest predictability of time and place, and therefore the greatest probability of attack. Familiarity with what is normal in these highest risk zones allows you to notice when something is out of the ordinary. You can't operate at peak alertness all the time, but if you have identified the most dangerous places in advance, you can avoid the ones that it's possible to avoid. You can maintain a high degree of alertness when you approach the ones that are unavoidable.
The General's aide, Captain Foley, talked to me about this. He asked me to call you and let you know when I finished with the route survey and to set up an appointment for a conference with the General. Yes, sir. 15 minutes should do it.
A careful route survey is your opportunity to anticipate how a terrorist group might try to attack you. It's your own surveillance program. A route survey is a complex what-if game.
You know, this is a very timely meeting. I just learned an old friend had a close call last week. He's always been a creature of habit. I'm sure he was very predictable in his daily routines. So, while we're talking alternating out travel routes, let's also work out some schedule variations.
Yes, sir. As you can see, sir, this is a map of our routes. I've taken a look at the area and I've photographed several problem areas.
Now, this is the bridge here, and we come down
Yes, sir.
here.
Yes.
This is good work, Richardson. Now, is that everything?
One more thing, sir. We should have a duress signal, some way that I can let you know if we're in trouble without actually speaking to you. Now, I suggest that we use the place in your drive where I stopped to pick you up. And since I usually pull up close to the door, if we have a problem, I could just pull up beyond the door.
And I'll react by pretending to have forgotten something and go back inside. I'll arrange my schedule so that I arrive and leave at a different time each day. And each evening, I'll let you know what I need the next day.
Thank you, sir. Early. Good. Never saw that van before. Let's just check out the neighborhood. See if anybody's waiting for us.
When you've already identified a place as a choke point, you can use extra care as you approach it. The bus stop is one of the places where someone could wait for you without attracting attention. A terrorist could use this cover to await the moment to attack, or to watch and report on your progress. A car with its engine running and the wheels turned towards the traffic lane is in a position to move rapidly in front of you. It's probably innocent. If it turns out to be innocent, you go on. It was worthwhile to have taken that extra minute. An unmarked car makes target identification harder for an attacker and saves the driver from leaving the driving position to cover and uncover the plate with the general stars. In a risk zone, it's important for the driver to stay in the car, ready to move it as soon as the potential target is inside. Target identification is much harder when a military officer wears an ordinary business suit and varies his seating position in the vehicle.
Good morning, Richardson.
Good morning, sir.
Remember, close to home is a dangerous place for terrorist attack. So whenever you're driving in such a heightened threat area, you should keep the radio off. It could be distracting. If you purposely make your time of travel unpredictable, an ambush team has to wait around in order to be there when you are. During that time, they may be exposed, and their presence may be noted. To carry out the ambush, the terrorist has to be sure of the target. So, though it may not always be possible to travel in civilian clothes, it often is, and anything that helps in keeping a low profile is worth doing. Passengers as well as the driver should be alert on routine trips.
Strange van. That's a neighbor's son home from college on vacation. Very observant, Sergeant.
By having identified the bridge as a potentially dangerous choke point, both driver and passenger are aware that unusual vehicles and people at that site are suspect.
I don't like the looks of this, sir.
I agree.
They have stopped outside the kill zone and no one is behind them. They can exit with a simple Y turn. Because of his route survey, the driver knows he can reach his destination by a route that avoids the bridge. Woods along the road provide good cover. Speed is your best defense against unseen attackers with long-range weapons. The faster you're going, the more difficult is the target you present. You should routinely vary your speed within posted limits. In congested areas, terrorists have often used motorcycles to attack cars. A motorcycle offers an attacker a way to get through congested traffic, and helmets with visors conceal the assailant's identity. Our driver is alert to these cyclists. He is stopped, so he is free to turn to the left if necessary. Of course, most motorcyclists are innocent, but they bear watching, especially when someone is riding double. These two people may be no threat at all. Then again, what if? What if this situation develops into an actual attack?
Get down, sir.
Let's look a little more carefully at what happened here. This intersection is a choke point. On this route, the driver must pass this way, and he has to stop at the stop sign. So he prepared an escape route and stayed alert to danger. He moved to the left of the innermost lane as he approached the stop. He stopped, leaving turnout space between his car and the one ahead, but not so much room that someone else could pull into it. If he needs to move, he can turn into the lane to his left. When he was unsure of the cyclist's intentions, he turned his wheels to prepare for a quick escape and to send a signal to the cyclist that he was prepared for trouble. When weapons were presented, he reacted immediately, using his car as a weapon and escape vehicle. Even in open country, you should develop the habit of noticing anything unusual that you pass on the road. At open road speeds, you may have to react very quickly.
Car's on schedule.
And here, your life may depend on your being able to perform some more demanding maneuvers than the average driver knows how to do. And no one should try them without behind-the-wheel instruction.
Look ahead, sir.
The driver and his passenger are at risk, and there is no time to waste. No time for the driver to think over what he should do.
It's roadblocks, sir. I'm gonna bootleg.
The driver had noticed the scrutiny from the passing hiker and was alert to danger, but he was not able to stop outside the kill zone. In this situation, with adequate speed and the way clear behind him, the bootleg turn was the best way out. Even if you were being followed close behind, the bootleg would turn you 180 degrees and into the other lane, out of your pursuer's way and headed in the other direction. You shouldn't try the bootleg turn if you're going less than 30 miles an hour. If you're traveling faster than 45 miles an hour, quickly slow to below 45 and then execute the maneuver. You'll have to keep the release lever for your parking brake tied up so that when you lift your foot, the parking brake releases like your regular brakes. Of course, your parking brake has to be good. And you never step on the regular brake pedal during a bootleg turn. The parking brake locks the rear wheels only and makes them lose traction. When you turn the steering wheel, you want the front wheels to keep turning and hold the road. When the rear wheels lose traction, the rear end of the car swings around the front wheels. And as soon as you're headed the way you want to go, release the emergency brake and accelerate. In some situations, you'll have neither the speed nor the room for a bootleg turn. At 20 miles an hour, it's impossible to do a bootleg as a way of escaping to the rear. This driver was in the kill zone, and he couldn't accelerate, so the bootleg was out.
There's nobody behind us, Sergeant.
Escape to the rear is possible. Here, the correct maneuver is the J-turn. The J-turn takes 9 seconds longer than a bootleg turn, but it's better than staying in the kill zone. Let's look again and see how it's done. Okay, you have entered a trap from which you must escape to the rear. Once you're in reverse, step on the gas and don't use the brake again in this maneuver. When you've reached about 15 or 20 miles per hour in reverse, you suddenly let up on the accelerator and jerk the wheel violently. The front end will swing right around because the front wheels are going to lose their grip on the road when you let up on the gas. When the car is turned, put the gear selector in drive and step on the gas. The bootleg gets you turned around at road speeds. The J-turn lets you back out of trouble. But if you're being blocked from ahead and behind, what do? You have to make a way out.
I can ram him, sir.
You have to use your car as a weapon, and you have to reach that decision fast. A car is heavy, but its only contact with the ground is 4 small patches of rubber, and you can move it. When you're suddenly blocked, you probably will hit your brakes. The ambush team will expect you to freeze. Instead, you gun it right at their wheel and axle to transmit maximum sideways shock to those patches of rubber. When you suddenly accelerate right at the strike zone, they'll be the ones surprised, and that will interfere with their marksmanship. Worry about your radiator later. For most people, the hardest thing about ramming is not to step on the brake, because as long as you've been driving, you've been training yourself to avoid collisions. But when you're ramming, you've got to keep moving. There are some things that you won't be able to move with your car as a ram. For example, these cars facing you lined up head-on. But still, if you stop, you're dead. Knowing what your car can do gives you an advantage over your attacker.
I see him, Sergeant.
You can escape in ways they have no reason to expect you to try. You can jump curbs and knock down mailboxes or hedges with no more trouble than knocking a trash barrel out of the way. To jump a curb successfully, you have to approach it at the correct angle. When you're ramming another vehicle, you have to be sure not to go too fast and try not to stop. If you're going to take an embankment, you need some speed in order to keep moving in the rough terrain and on the slope. Speed also helps make you a harder target to hit. Knowing escape maneuvers is valuable. It might save your life. It's even better to avoid trouble in the first place. That means keeping a low profile, being on the lookout for surveillance, and knowing where the choke points are because you've made a careful route survey in advance.
We made pretty good time, Sergeant. Rather uneventful. But